All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here. It's Smirking Reviews, back to talk again about The Last of Us Season 1. We are at the finale. Now, I have a guest getting ready to pop in. Right here.
This is so God damn this episode. Hi, Rob. Hi, everyone. How y'all doing?
Hey,
Uh,
what's up, man?
so I just spent an hour crying at HBO. So, oh my God.
Well, we
Uh,
literally just started. This is literally the beginning of the stream. So, hey, everybody. Welcome to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirky Reviews. I am joined today by, I was on the other side the other day. Now I'm screwed up. My friend from D's Reviews, Mr. Darren Jakes, here to help me talk about the end of The Last of Us. Um, you tried to be here on the very first episode,
yeah.
and it took us a while to figure out what went wrong. But we're here now for the last episode together. This is great. I can't wait to hear what you think about that. And so, if you guys want to know where I was between episode 6 and 9, one of the reasons, well, one, the power went out last week, but the other thing is like, I've been struggling to just go, what else is there to say? It's a fantastic show. It's probably the best show of the year, probably the best show of the last couple of years. It's probably going to win every award. And so, what else can you say? So, I know I have a few things to say about 7, 8, and not. I mean, look, I actually don't. I have one thing to say about something that I wish was in here. The only thing that I wish they had done a little differently. Um, so 7, great. The DLC, they did it perfectly. Uh, the actress who played Riley, I believe it's Reed Storm, was
Mhm.
fantastic. The mall stuff, all of the tone of it. Again, this is so 100%, almost 100% accurate, that I just don't. If it's all right there, if the thing that I love is right in front of me, I don't know what else to say other than, if I want to like critique, sure, there's always going to be little critiques, but I have nothing substantial to say in the negative. So for better purposes, I want to hear what Darren here has been thinking about this show so far.
um, Look, first off, because I will probably say it multiple times, but I don't think it can be understated. Bella Ramsey is kicking all of the ass. She is not only kicking all of the ass, she was going out, finding more ass, dragging it in, and kicking that as well. Yes, the whole bit flashback sequence with her friend and seeing where it was going and feeling all of those moments and just that perfect blend of young love and anger and trying to move forward. I mean, there was so much in that episode. Um, Last week, oh my God, the arc that that character was able to push through and I mean, just the intensity, the moment, the change. If she needs to be funny, she's funny. If she needs to be intense, she's intense. If she needs to be reflective, she's reflective. She's just Pedro Pascal is awesome, of course, but he's had years to hone his craft. Bella's bringing this in at a young age, I think more than any other kind of child actor that I have seen. And I don't know how old the actor actually is, um, but just amazing. Yeah, I think you're right. This is going to win all of the awards. It should. It will definitely get nominated for all of them. Um,
Yeah, I mean, like Rena says, and I want to thank Rena and Deborah for being in the chat. Yeah, saying best doesn't mean awards, but it's HBO. They're gonna get nominated at the very least, is what I'm saying. Like it's gonna be present with best actor, best actress, best supporting actress, best supporting like special guest star, probably for Nick Offerman and for the gentleman from White Lotus season 1. I can't remember his name right now. Um, we're talking like across the board. Then you've got like all the technical awards that they're going to win, probably sort of like cinematography. probably
Hmm.
for screenplays. A lot of the awards that you won't see at the awards, maybe like best score, best blah blah blah. So yeah, best. So go ahead.
Uh,
Uh,
but what excites me the most out of this series is, and again, from someone who has not played the game at all, feeling the roots of the video gaming here. The fact that they did what I've wondered why they haven't done for the longest time: take the video game, make movie. Don't change things, don't stuff. I mean, obviously, you have to shift things around because it's a different medium, it's a different form of storytelling.
yep.
But like episode 2, when they're going up into the through the museum, and they get out of the stair and the case collapses behind them, and now they're in for the boss fight where they can't get back out. From a game player, I felt that transition, but it was totally normal. The sequence tonight where Joel is going to rescue Ellie. I see that video game sequence of going through and mowing people down and that first person and all of that stuff. They changed it perfectly in order to change for the medium of cinema of the series. But I felt those moments. They didn't have to change or alter anything. And in fact, the fact that they were so dedicated to bringing the game to a new audience in this sense, I think shone through. Now, blessings, of course, is the writing that's already in the game that they can just build on top of. I mean, that shouldn't be understated either. But I'm hoping this is going to start to change the, hey, people have played the game, so we got to make it different. It's like, yeah, people read the book, and yet you always remake the book. Just do the same thing, but bring it up to the cinematic level where we can see those moments. We can have those character beats. We can have those connections, and then you can do the giant, set pieces when you need to. Um, but yeah, I would go and buy a PlayStation right now if I had the extra cash and go and play the old games if I could. I'm that jazzed up about it. But I just really love that they were able to accurately make that adaptation and keep the quality, just like you said, the writing, the directing, the acting, the cinematography, the character designs, the makeup effects are just all spot on.
There's nothing like it. Like it's if this would have been on any other channel, like there's so many shows that we go, if it had only been on HBO, you know, whether about being canceled or just quality, um,
Sure.
you almost don't go wrong, especially when it's the flagship shows like HBO originals or HBO Max originals they definitely have a wave, a
Sure.
stormy sea of quality of ups and downs. But when it comes to the shows that are just straight HBO originals, that's where the money all goes. It's like they say, like when they make television episodes, right? It's like I was listening to stuff that I learned lately, and they say that like one out of every four episodes of like a TV show, like that
Hmm.
the big network shows, is the one that gets all the money, and the rest of them have to like take their cuts so that the big episode can shine.
Sure.
Eh, But with this kind of thing, no, they everything goes into every like no quality is left out just so that they can fix the budget. I'm sure that there's a budget, but I mean
Right.
it's a little more lenient uh, for the quality that they want to put out.
Well, and when you put the kind of writing and acting scenes, I mean, and that's it. There's two episodes in this sequence in this first season that are basic flashbacks with very little real, zombie action, the cordyceps or any of that. Obviously, there's some where they need to be in the episode, but there's a lot of stuff that they take to just do, hey, we're going to just tell the whole story between these two guys. And you're going to be tearing up constantly throughout the episode. It's going to be the most beautiful thing that you saw. But we can put the money and focus, there on the character, and then go, great. So when we do need to do our cordyceps attack, our clicker attack, all of those, you've got the budget all saved up. I mean, in some ways, they've done a similar thing, but they've kept the quality where you go, God, the filler episode may be one of the best ones of the whole season. Oh, there's the other filler episode. No, this might be actually be the best episode of the whole. You know, it I'm just gonna babble here. It's a great
No, because
show.
it's like trying to pick your favorite kid. You know, like there's 9 of you, and man, the first one, I mean, you're classic, and the last one, I mean, we didn't know if it was going to turn out or not. You know, we didn't know if you were going to land it. You know, like it was a kind of a like we'd had 8 great kids. We weren't sure if the 9th one was going to stick the landing. It turned out all right. You know.
You're the fighter.
But all of you in the middle, you're no slouches either. You know, like
oh, there's the funny one. There's the one that could draw. There's the one,
well,
that just has the best stories.
It's a really interesting way to talk about this because, like, if you want to say anything about episode 8, before we talk about this thing I want to talk to, that kind of has to deal with picking your favorite kid. What did you think of episode 8, where she had to take care of him, and you've got David and his group of people, which is one of the most, again, every section of the Last of Us game has some great section where, you know, a moment where you're just like, okay, it's time to kick some ass. And of course, they can't do all the action that we want in this show, but the whole thing with how they have this one guy in one episode, right? Well, you get Troy Baker in the 8th episode,
which was
and
just
then you get
awesome.
this guy David, who I'm glad they didn't cast Nolan North. I wish there's part of me that kind of wishes they did, because Nolan can definitely be creepy when he wants to be.
Sure.
But I thought they picked a really great actor, and I think that they conveyed even better in some ways what this guy was really about, while still having that incredible set piece in the restaurant that was in the game where you are Ellie stealthily going around the booths and the tables in the kitchen trying not to step on broken glass while this guy searches everywhere for you. It's, again, very exciting, you know, very intense, and captured amazingly. And the one difference really was, you know, that she goes more off on him in that scene than is in the game. In the game, Joel stops you and has that same kind of reaction, but they just kind of shrunk that up. So the 8th episode, okay, my only note, and I said this to my sister when we were watching it, was if somebody hits you with a butcher knife, say in the head, I can imagine just going down like, I'm dead. But Troy takes a butcher knife to the shoulder, like right here, and I just kind of thought, like, wouldn't you be like, ah! He just goes down like a sack of potatoes. Maybe they just needed to get out of that scene, but I just kind of wanted a more realistic death scene written for Troy since he just gave it his all. But what did you think of episode 8, real quick?
Yeah, well, for me, I'm just like, that's a clavicle cut, maybe into the jugular. The shock itself may have just stunned him to collapse. But to me, it was the better buildup of the moment, because when she does it, and I saw the knife in the thing, and I'm like, oh, is she going to, you know, it's like you want her to do stuff, and then she does it. And the fact that it's just grab, hack, push, move. What's the best thing about 8? I mean, again, outside of Bella Ramsey, no, it is Bella Ramsey. It's the fact that Ellie is tough. Ellie is smart, and Ellie pushes so much. You have these kid characters that are the whinies and they're the scared, and they're sucked in to the, you know, freaking ice cream man going, come on up here, it's all free little samples today. And Ellie has none of that. She doesn't trust the guy from the beginning. Maybe she talks to him a little bit too long. Maybe she just, just makes one or two light mistakes that get taken advantage of, but she doesn't let down her guard for a moment. She doesn't trust this guy at all, and she isn't a victim at any point in the episode. She starts off going, Joel, I'm going to protect you. You've got to do this. This is what has to happen. Going down and giving him the knife, you know, okay, you got to be quiet. I think I've got it all up. But if anybody comes in, you got to stab that fucker. You got to kill them. It's nice to have tough, smart characters, and you don't often see that really portrayed. The drama is brought into the mistakes. And this is a great way to say, no, the drama comes up in overcoming these things and dragging the audience along with you. As for David, you get, I thought he was going to smack that girl for crying in that very first scene, but that's not how it's played. And it's not how it's done. And you're like, oh, am I reading this wrong? But you're not.
No.
And that's what's so great about it. He plays creepy, but he talks right. So you're like, should I trust this guy? Where's this going to go wrong? Because he seems to be reasonable. And you're right, that makes it more creepy later on. When you start to realize, no, that feeling you had in your gut, you've got to trust that. And that you can convey that properly in a show.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm glad they had Ellie just hack the hell out of him, because there is a satisfaction to that arc. And it also is the scar that she carries over into this episode. With that just kind of stunned PTSD, I just survived this horrible thing. Whether she is also thinking about what's going to happen at the end or where things are going to go and how are we, to me, the whole playoff on this episode builds perfectly off of that moment.
Yep.
Of I just lived through this, and yeah, maybe for the next week I'm gonna trade like 3 words.
Now, the thing that I wanted to talk about, because there's nothing really more to be said. I mean, we're going to talk about the finale.
Yeah.
But I since you said you haven't played the game and everything, and I'm not going to give credence to what the detractors of the show that say there's not enough action. Where's the the gameplay in the game? Where's the monsters? Where's the soldiers? Where's the bandits that we gotta kill?
Mm-hmm.
But because the show is just fine with the amount. Well, I mean, okay, it's almost just fine with the amount. And the reason I say almost is because when you're playing the game, I understand they got to cut out so much.
Sure.
But when you're playing the game over the course of it, right? You're Joel. You're also like, I put myself in Joel's shoes. I'm enjoying Ellie in the back of my mind, but I'm like, Joel, I'm on this journey of falling in love with Ellie too, as as a character, but for this character as a daughter, And when you keep getting yourself having to put yourself in these action sequences where you don't just have to think of yourself, but you have to think of her getting killed too.
Right.
Not just yourself in this. Your game can be over if she dies, if you can't get to her and somebody's got her. And all those moments that you fight and power through together against all these people and monsters across the country makes you feel more connected to the characters, so that when at the end, when they get to the hospital, when they're about to get to the hospital, when they do what they do at the beginning of this, the connection that they have when they end up separated, you feel it so much more in the game than you do on the show. And that is not to say that the show is hasn't captured that pretty well. But but it's an emotional love connection that we feel. We think about our family and all that stuff, but there's a feeling that they're missing for me, and
Hmm.
that's the visceral, the violence, the violent connection that these two characters have. The oh, we did it. We survived. We fought together. We murdered with each other. And as rough as that sounds, it really makes you want to fight more, so that you can be, as an audience member, you can be it. And I think that I'm not trying to say that, like, just, we always say, like, I don't want to be greedy, but this is 9 episodes. Usually these things on HBO are about 10.
Right.
Between episode 6 and 7, there's a real, like, let's call a different episode 7, kind of like how we were talking about The Mandalorian
Hmm.
having a different premiere. So this actually should be episode 10 that came on tonight, because I think the real episode 7 should have taken place after they left Tommy's and ended when Joel is falling off the horse. I think that they should have spent that time at the college getting it, because in the game, when David talks about this one guy who dies named
Right.
Alec, that gets everybody afraid. But in the game, they're talking about a bunch of people, a swath of bodies of this kind of connected group of bandits that David is. They're talking about, they know that he's been, somebody with a little girl's been murdering people everywhere, not just, and it's their people, not just Alec. Okay. So if they had taken that episode, like, have one big extravaganza of clickers, because it's a university.
Hmm.
So you can be going through the halls. There could have been chances to do, like, setting clickers off on other people, all kinds of different things that would have, like, where he's in danger, she pulls him out. She's in danger, he pulls her out. Like, they just, and I, the one show that made me think, like, how you can have that all of a sudden cool tone shift where a kind of good talky drama suddenly hits you with an adrenaline shot that you didn't know you needed, was True
Hmm.
Detective season 1, where McConaughey suddenly, that whole episode where he does the, like, undercover work and
Oh
everything
yeah.
looks like, and all of a sudden that show went from, like, 0 to 1,000, where it was like, whoa. I got so much more invested in it because I felt really danger for the characters. And that was the first thing I thought. It was like, this show needs that one
Hmm.
episode that just shows, like, what these two are capable to do together and how that drives them closer. By the end of the episode, everybody in the audience would be like, I don't want to be the people that try to get between those two. In this, it was more like, oh, we're going to the hospital. It's very melancholy. We know that, like, she's feeling like she's not going to get it through this. But I, like, feel like going into that, like, for, as an audience member, to feel a little bit more like, yeah, she might feel bad now, but, like, something's coming later. And I think it just needed that. And that's just my own personal.
Sure.
What do you think of that idea?
Well, look, I mean, that sounds awesome. I mean, I'm not gonna deny it. Having that type of, us versus them episode. Um, you're right. I wouldn't be surprised if people are not going, I want a little bit more of that. Especially again, since you have a couple of episodes that are pretty much away from the duo specifically. You know, the Offerman one, Frank and Brian,
Bill.
who's
Bill.
Bill? Thank you, Frank and Bill, uh, which was a beautiful episode, but very divorced from the rest of the journey that's going on in the season. And then the flashback episode, which I guess was a DLC, um, with the mall, which, while it did have Ellie in it, it was definitely not an Ellie and Joel story,
No.
which was also kind of a separation. So, not letting us have that, you're right, does seem to be a bit of attraction. On the other hand, I can if you trace out the story and character arcs within each episode and how they're focusing on all these individual stories and playing in. The moment that in this episode when Joel is like, where's Ellie? To me, they made that hit more on that father-daughter element as opposed to the separated duo of the we have finally made that connection, which is like first part of the episode, they're just talking there, and I'm like, why is this so strong? I love these guys. That emotion kind of hits so hard, and I think that's how they were able to you know give the audience a similar visceral reaction that's not just built on the separation of what these two can do. And if they did give us that moment, would that have detracted from Ellie's story with David and going against them all on her own? Maybe something that
Nah,
they thought.
not really. I just think that it gives like more like it gives you as a player at least, right? When they take like when you wake up and they tell you, you know, you're gonna be walked out and you're never gonna see her again. Um, I feel like it gives you gives it more to the player. I can't wait to go after these people because even though the behind the scenes says that oh god, what was it about like the choices that love makes you do things. Oh crap, I lost it. I had it and I lost it. Um, shit. Anyway,
I can't
I know what. No, but I know what you mean. I just think that I, we have the emotional. I want also the visceral.
Sure.
Um,
And that would be
so,
the only place that you
oh,
could
it's
put
the
an episode
motivation to
like that.
kill. Okay, no, I mean what I was trying to say is the motivation so that you feel nothing for the Fedra people. In this, again, they make you feel the more emotional connection because we're all people. They're all people. It's not a game. Um, I just wanted like going into this, the 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 talk wasn't just about love, but like violence that that is caused. And while this show is definitely nailed all the emotion, I just don't think it's put the violence out there as much. And I know how like weird that sounds to say like I want more blood and guts on the screen.
Sure.
It's just that I just don't know if they really quite hit the part about violence enough. And maybe I'm just desensitized.
Well, and maybe that's the little tweak they can do with next season is realize, okay, okay,
Oh,
we HBO'd the hell out of this season with all of the emotional character arcs and moments and gravitas and things like that, is to then add a little
oh,
bit more of that visceral storytelling.
it's going to happen because, as they say, this game is about love. And it's like, wow, how can this be about love with all that violence? But this is the Fellowship of the Ring. Part two is what, like, when love turns to hate and what hate makes you do. And the things you do in part two of that game make what you do in part one seem like, a kid's ride at Disneyland. So we're going to see a tonal shift. You're going to see the visceral. And maybe that's in the end why they maybe had an idea. Maybe they might have had an idea for something like what I'm talking about, but
Right.
thought in the end, it just doesn't fit the tone of this, what we're trying to do with this part of the show. And
Right.
that when we get to that, we're going to get it all over the place. But to me, I just still want that bigger connection of not just father daughter, but partner,
Sure.
because they're never going to separate. So they're not just father daughter. They're Bonnie and Clyde. If Bonnie was the daughter and Clyde was the dad.
But
Like,
but if they hold off on that, that does give the next evolution of story. First, their family, then
yeah,
their partners. The
yeah, yeah,
respect comes up where you've got to grow up and say, hey, I can't just treat you like a little kid anymore. You're your own kill bot. I'm like, yeah, I can't just think of you as the old
yeah.
man. You're the classic murderer guy. I don't know what
Sure.
nicknames they have for each other, but probably something cooler than that. Uh,
Well, well, it's probably what was it? Well, we'll get into it when we talk about the finale. Right now, we've been talking about the finale
sure.
in a roundabout way, but yes, they stuck the landing. It's 100% accurate, pretty much to the game. Again, they just cut out a massive clicker fight. That's about it. They trimmed down the exploration. The giraffe part's all in there. Even the same music from that scene is in there. The whole we actually do have gameplay in this episode because of the whole boost up thing and putting that. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah.
literally like the tutorial of, hey, if I go get that, if I boost you up, will you push that ladder down for me? Like it's literally gameplay. The conversation that they have about him noticing her, but the one difference is what they added, which is Joel. Okay. Well, first off, we got to talk about Ashley Johnson. So I don't want to jump too far ahead.
Sure.
So the beginning with Ashley Johnson, the girl who played Ellie in the game, giving birth to Ellie. That's I know Ashley Johnson can definitely appreciate.
Oh, that is so awesome because she looks like Ellie's mom.
Yeah,
She totally looks like Bella
Bella
Ramsey.
Ramsey's. Yeah.
So I was
So
like, God, that's a hell of a casting. But the fact they were able to get another one of the voice actors in to play that's just
yeah,
oh,
we
chef's
have
kiss.
Joel, Ellie, Tommy, Marlene. Like we've got like the majority of the cast in the show at some point. So of course Ashley does a great job here. Um, and we were in the chat at the for the watch party that we do, and Ashley fights off the thing as the baby gets born, and she's holding it. And all I was waiting for was the inevitable, because this is such a loving like she just fought a clicker and killed it. Oh my God, motherhood, girl power, whatever. But I wasn't trusting it, and I said they're going to show that she got bit, but then it didn't happen. And I was like, oh, okay, so we're just going to find out that like she died later on, and then like right away,
Just we're just gonna pause
right
it
away.
just long enough. We're
Yep.
gonna go for the 5 seconds, not the 3 seconds. Yeah.
And then after the fact, oh, she is fucking bit, and this is it. And just this is a new thing. This is not in the game. They added this, and it was great that they did it. Because hell, it was a very short episode.
Yes.
But like I said, they managed to tell the story that they needed to in that short amount of time and add a couple of things. So they pulled it off. Okay, I didn't think they would, but they did. So Ashley did great. That actress who plays Marlene in the game and in the show did a fantastic job in this scene. The one person who didn't do a fantastic job though was the guy or the person who was holding the baby. She said, "Cover his
I
ears."
know. I did the exact same thing. I'm like, what
Didn't
the
cover his
hell?
ears. You didn't cover the baby's ears. The heck, man! You had one
Good
job.
job. Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
know that
I.
she went in there and did it fast, but baby, this is all you had to do.
And,
Whatever. That
and
baby was
it's
gonna
not
cry
like
no matter what.
that act isn't going to be surprising at that moment. It's like, yeah, it's obviously going to go shoot. Do you need it spelled out for you? I'm going to fire a gun, but I'll just put the blanket a little over the ears. That's what you need, right? No.
But what did you think of this whole scene?
Again, I thought it was great. I appreciate it more knowing that the voice actress was in there and that she has such a striking resemblance to Bella to accurately play a mom. I thought that was great. I was. It does. They always do like to give the little genesis of how did this happen. How is she really different from anyone else? And obviously, it's Blade. Uh, Mom was bit while she was giving birth, and that gave them all of the strengths and none of the weaknesses. That's I guess that's the secret for us to go forward.
Yes, that was a really nice touch of them doing that and then pointing it out to us verbally. I cut it before I was bit to make sure we
Like,
all
no, you
understand
didn't.
that no, I did not. and it explains to all of us this is why she's immune.
Right. And it's a
Like it's
perfect, this is a perfect explanation. This is what's different. This made a change. How does that manifest going forward? We find out later on in the episode, but it's that perfect foundation. Plus, it gives us the emotion and the connection between Marlene and Ellie. Now, why she pawned Ellie off to Fedra afterwards, or whatever, however that happened, that may be a different story. I don't, it's something
that's a
related later on.
that's like a Ben Kenobi thing. That's putting her where she knows they'll protect her behind walls. And
Okay,
that she's
I'll go
and
with
that
that.
when the time comes, I'm coming for you. Like, but they'll keep you behind the walls. You won't have to worry about infected for all this time. So she put them with the enemy because of that, I think.
Okay,
Um,
go with that.
Also, that was the first thing they added. And I guess we'll talk about the second thing later. So we just jump right into like they're on the highway again, right from the game. Even the RV with the open door is from the game. Talking about guitar is from the game. Her being like, ugh, and not doing anything until puns, that's from the game. The difference is, this again would have cost a lot of money. Uh, the Fireflies just kind of tear gas them and take them. In the game, you're underground, crawling over water, and a bus collapses, sending you underwater. It's a crazy situation. You wake up, they're dragging her away, and they knock you out. That's the game.
Okay.
Oh, and you fight like a bunch of walkers or clickers and stuff on the way there, and it's amazing, and I love it. Um, and I highly recommend playing it if you haven't played it because every action scene is fun to just navigate and try different things. Maybe I'll use a Molotov cocktail today. Maybe I'll use a nail bomb today. I don't know. Maybe I'll just sit on top of a bus and practice my sniper skills. I don't know. There's lots of options in the game. But anyway, that's the main, like, but it's still pretty accurate.
Mhm.
The giraffe scene also in there. And this is where we get the second thing that they added. And I also texted this and I said, oh, well, this would all be great. They're sitting there talking to each other, right? And he's finally telling her about his daughter, which is like, this shows to us, the audience, and to Ellie, he's better. He has awakened. She has changed his life, like emotionally. He is in a better place. And they're just going there to take care of a thing. And they're going to go back to Tommy's. And she knows what's up. He doesn't, and it's fantastic.
Um, yeah.
Oh, but I wanted to hear what you said, what you think first, and then I'll tell you the
Oh,
part they added.
okay. Well, I mean, obviously, another set piece like that with an underwater gag and having their kind of separation there by fireflies, that would be a kind of a cool bit. But again, if they're focusing more on the character, I think they did that perfectly because we're having those close conversations. We're opening up. We're relating in with each other. It's like, hey, this is what happened to me and I'd kind of lost it, but now I feel better because you're around, But again, they don't have to say it as much, but that's what's happening. And again, from an audience standpoint, we know shit's about to go down because they're having another one of those quiet, honest connection points. And that's where somebody gets shot or blown up or, some horrible thing like that. So I think in some ways, just to carry that emotional thing, that's all that they really needed. And then, yeah, the little grenade goes off and psh,
Oh, that's the part that they added. Not the stuff of him talking about his daughter or anything like that. He starts to open up. She hands him a picture that he left behind and she snagged anyway.
mm-hmm.
That part they added was where I said, oh, he could really just, and I was joking, all the ways he could solve this situation by when she goes, we came all this way, it can't be for nothing. All he'd have to say is, it wasn't. You saved my life. And I was like, but they're not going to do that.
No.
And again, they did it. They actually did do the thing that he should do, which is he tells her it wasn't time. And it's all he had to say. And just that emotional, like where you go, okay. Like again, if that didn't solidify the emotional connection, I don't know what does. So again, every choice that they make, whether they're adding or subtracting and then giving you something else, they still find the best way to tell the story for this format.
Right.
And I got to tell you, like that's just hit. Like if they're doing what I don't want to act like I know everything about writing or script writing or what's good and what's bad all the time. But when they're actually going with what you say is the right decision, writing wise, you go, oh, all you have to do is this. Because how many shows do we watch where characters just don't say the thing they should say,
Oh
and we're
yeah.
pulling our hair out, and it's like, God, so much of drama is created by, and while granted, a lot of this does happen in real life. People do communicate though at times, and and do say the right things at times, and but on TV, they never do until everything has gone straight to hell. But in this show, everything already went straight to hell. Everything's always going straight to hell. And they actually are allowed to have honest conversations with each other. And that just is
Well,
rare.
and I think that they did that build character wise very well within this episode because Bella is, reacting from last episode and or the approach of the end and what that difference is going to be. And so she's all very internalized. He can very obviously see that something is bothering her, but doesn't want to be pushy. So is checking in or kind of making a joke or a little some sort of engagement. Then we get to the building. We get that great back and forth about what's the plan. No, I thought I'd use the explosives and blow our way through this hole. No, again, great character stuff. And then we get the video game sequence. This is how we partner up and get the ladder. And then again, not having played the game, I saw this when she's like, quick, this way. Oh my God. That now you're Joel running. Is she going to trip or fall? Is she going to run into a clicker? Is she going to run into something? Is something going to jump out? Am I going to lose her? And so we have she's pulled away. He's trying to connect. Now he could potentially lose her. And then they get that just beautiful moment with the giraffe, that great Jurassic Park, let's feed it real close moment, which was just beautiful. And it's like now that we have that moment, this is when he opens up finally and makes that connection. It's kind of a perfect little bit of back and forth of pull, grab. Oh my God, am I going to lose? I'm not going to. We need to take this moment and connect. I thought that built itself up really beautifully. And so, yeah, the fact that he could just have that honest reaction, then they can go right into their loss. We finally connected and we're pulled apart. I think was just perfect. Again, a much shorter episode than I thought it was going to be, but they didn't miss anything. Everything I think carried very well. Like you said, the choices they made worked for the medium they were using.
Yeah, the sound is better. I again was wearing my earbuds because
Ah,
my anxiety makes me think that my earbuds are hiding me. It makes me feel less self-conscious for some reason. It's like I feel like I'm like locked in to just this and the headphones, and that no one outside those headphones can hear me. So, but we're we're gonna try to power through just because it's better quality now. So sorry
yeah.
about that, everybody. That sound quality problem is on my end, not on Darren's. So we get to the
Damn.
big we get to the big finale here where Marlene has to tell him like sorry. And like they say in the behind the scenes, like this is not a Joel that Marlene has ever dealt with. This is a Joel who gives a shit. And her job is to get him out of there as fast as possible because she owes him. She's not going to kill him unless he tries something, but she is right there on the edge of it. And just like in the game, when they get him far enough away and he gets his moment, I wanted to bring up really quick the moment I wanted to talk about from episode 8, just briefly. That is from the game. that is just like this violent moment. Not quite as violent as this violent moment, but one of my favorite moments in the game, as just a fan of some good old vengeance, when he gets the two guys separated, tied up in the chairs and on the floor,
Oh God,
sticking him with
yes.
the knife in his kneecap, uh, just making him point to the thing, torturing each these two dudes. One guy yelling at him like, "You better tell," running that game of he better point at the same thing, and then just coldly, blankly stabbing him to death, and the guy screaming in terror as he's like, "I'm not gonna tell you nothing," thinking he's got the upper hand on Joel, and Joel just does not care. And
Yeah,
he's
I
just like,
believe
"Oh,
the guy. He
I
seemed
believed
honest.
him."
Yeah.
Well, that moment is almost exact. That's exactly from the game. Just like this moment where he just turns the tables on these guys, and it becomes the slow mo, just blast through the fireflies that get in his way. Um, it's. I'm glad they put it in here. I said it was going to be a slaughter. It was a pretty well done, without too much. We get the gist how many people he's probably taken out. He's not John Wick, but these people aren't John Wick either. They're just people who have survived and learned some things along the way. So I mean, not all these people are not soldiers. They know enough to survive this long. But we're talking about a guy who wants his daughter, and it's a story. So sorry, guys, you're gonna die. My favorite in the game is always like letting them all group up and tossing the Molotov cocktails at them,
Sure.
sending them all running. It's always a lot of fun to do in this game. But I when we get to the door, which is what I even said like out loud, um, while we were watching it was, oh, they even put it there, the door. My sister's like, what door? What are you talking about? I'm like, the door that he gets to in the game. That's like this kind of symbol of everything is about to change once he goes through that door to get Ellie. And I loved every second of this. They captured it beautifully. Again, almost completely accurate to the game of the shooting of the doctor. In the game, you're actually allowed to kill everybody. I wondered if he was going to go that far. Personally, I'm glad he didn't assassinate the other doctors in the room, like I've done because I've played it 1,000 times, and you just got to see if you can do it. Can I? That's how I found out.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
uh, Up all the way through to confronting Marlene, which I'll leave for last. So, what do you think of everything leading up to his confrontation of Marlene in this part?
Well, again, we have made that emotional connection. We now have a father-daughter unit formed fully, committedly, especially with Ellie's last speech there of just like, look, I'm with you to I'm with you to the end of the line. Wherever you go, I go. When this is all done, we got to take care of this one thing, but then we're together. It's like we have that. Now you took it apart. And of course, all of this thing, all of the sacrifice, Ellie herself committed to getting to this moment, doing what we got to do. And they're like, yeah. And that means we're going to kill her. Scoop out her brain stuff. Hopefully that'll help. We got to try, right? Uh, it's a brutal takedown, and you even know it. The fact that he's by herself, and she's like, "Yeah, she wanted to say hi. No, you can't see her now." It's like, again, it's like the David scene. You know something's wrong. You're
Yep.
just trying to figure out what it is.
Yep.
And I completely agree. The minute they got hit, and she's like, "Take him out. If he gives you a problem, shoot him." It's like, yeah, well, you're gonna have a problem because he's just gonna wait for that moment. And beautifully played again by Pedro going down the steps, all those moments. You can see the gears running through his head like I just got to wait for my moment. He's pushing me again. He's pushing me again. I'm going to ready myself until I'm in the right spot. Just you're just waiting for it. And then he does what he has to do and what we as the audience now fully support. Yes, you have to kill all of these people. They all deserve to die. That's just the way that it is. I agree. I'm glad that he didn't kill the nurses at the end, but that one guy that was like giving up and putting down, he shot him. Yeah, put your gun down and boom. Why? He says it early on. I don't have time for this. He shot
Yep.
that one guy in the chest, then he shot the other guy in the knee. Like, yeah, he had to ask him a question of where is she, but uh, he is at that point was just the methodical killer survivor has just been activated. He has one goal: get Ellie. Everything else means nothing. And it's just a slow, methodical move through it. Again, having not played the game, I still saw this was a whole game sequence of going through floor after floor, finding the path. Where is it? Which part of the hospital? I thought that that was all just, again, perfectly done. And we were with the emotional journey. The biggest point, the one only scene that I was actually scared, again, not knowing what happens to Joel in the game, is when he gets to the floor where she's being operated on, and it's that quiet hallway, and you're like, man, someone's going to come out and boom him in the back of the head, or there's, so it's like he obviously has to rescue her, but is he going to be mortally wounded by the time he gets, you're waiting for that thing to happen.
It's that scene, right, where the guy's going somewhere and he gets shot in the back, and then everything goes white.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like,
What
oh,
was it? The Professional at the end with
yes,
Leon gets
Leon, the
killed.
professional. Yep,
Ah,
yep,
there's the exit. Da, da, da,
yep.
da,
That's
da.
exactly what I was trying to think of. Was the professional. That is exactly it. The girl and the guy leaving. Oh my god, it's fucking perfect. Yeah. Now that I'm like really piecing it together, even the story matches practically.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah. Uh, and then we get to Marlene, and this again, even in the game, it cuts away from the action to the car, back to the scene, back to this, just like it
Oh,
does in the
nice.
show,
Oh, nice.
so that you don't know exactly until they want you to know what exactly happened, even to the point where he gets her in the car and goes back for her and says, wait, 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 and just you'll just come looking for her.
And it's totally true. It's
Yep.
totally
Because how
true.
many times in a show do they let the guy go just to come back over and over? He's the Joker, right? It's the Joker theory of I've got to be better than you.
And he knows
I
her
can't
goal
win.
is to kill Ellie,
Yep.
to get the cordyceps, whatever. Her goal results in Ellie's death, and he cannot
Yes.
allow that.
No. And the actress, during again the behind the scenes, like she's tearing up because she's like thinking about all this stuff about how she, like all the things that she filmed with Ashley and having to connection to the game and how she feels all this as an actress playing all this and knowing like all these feel like she brought it.
Mm-hmm.
She's a character in the game. You just kind of you don't really give a shit. She's in your way. In the game. She's a little more, I don't know, sketchy. In this, she feels less. She feels so much more sincere. Definitely got things that she's not saying, but she definitely feels more sincere and motherly than she does in the game. So when it happens, it's like, ooh, yeah, that's right. But in the show, you do feel bad though, because she's not wrong. He's not wrong. Somebody made a choice, and somebody's choice beat their choice.
Sure.
And also he had to kill everybody because just like Marlene, anybody that's left. Now he kept the nurses because they didn't have guns. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
like if they had made a move, but I don't think he saw them as a threat. It was
Well,
more
that's
like
it. He wasn't there to punish. Even the
yeah,
doctor, he didn't care about killing. And the doctor said, no, okay, well, then you need to be taken out of the way and I need this taken care of. There wasn't really an emotionality to it, which, I mean, again, there was a strong emotion, but not in the way he acted. He wasn't angrily going after everyone.
no,
You are in my way. You are a threat. I have to take you out. It just went pure Terminator mode.
yep.
So then,
He's showing you what earned his reputation, but he's not. He's never been a person who's enjoyed it. He just does it. He's just good at it. He's just good at it. And so the very end, just like the game, he gets her all the way back to Tommy's. We get the nice walk talking about his daughter, and even Bella Ramsey says it in the behind the scenes that she knows what we all know, which she knew before she was getting to the Fireflies, is that she wasn't going to make it out of there. She just knew it. And now she's in the back of the car being told that her, like you said, everything that she's fought for is done and it didn't mean anything because other outside of their relationship, it's all gone. And he's lying to her at the very end, and she knows that too, because believing that is too hard.
Right.
Because now she loves this person. This person saved her life, and how can she, you know? But that's going to be a tale for another season. What did you think of this choice? Because again, again in the behind the scenes, and I talk about this all the time, and definitely watch the podcast. It's the best podcast. Um, how they talk about, um, God, and then I had it, I lost it again. The because then I start talking, and then I forget about the three other things that I was talking about. Um, anyway, I'll let you talk about this scene, and I'll try to
Sure.
remember what I was gonna say.
It's another one of those scenes where I kept expecting something to happen. And even though the characters don't make sense for this, I'm still feeling like, fuck, is Ellie going to shoot him in the back of the head? Because it almost starts to feel like she's going to pull back and like, it wasn't. But of course, the feeling is, like you say, that she knows that he's not telling her the truth. And she's weighing that and trying to process all of those, that kind of new reality of things like, oh, I wasn't going to make it. Obviously, this isn't what happened. How do I really feel about this moving forward? So that tension between them really gave an odd feel to this. Because again, I don't think from everything that informed that she was actually going to kill him or anything like that, but you're kind of waiting for that moment. And even when she does kindly at the end and be like, just swear to me that what you're telling me is true. Like, oh, this is what she's battling with. Okay. And again, I know that the second game is very Ellie centric, and I'm like, I don't know, didn't know if Joel survived to the end of the game. If he appears in the sequel, I don't know these things, so you don't have to tell me or any of that. But that unknowingness also lent this level of tension. Sometimes with superhero movies and things like that, a lot of the big stuff that we enjoy, a lot of the tension is taken away because you don't know. You know that Cap is going to make it to the end. You know that Iron Man's going to survive. You know that Thor's got another adventure. You know that Shang-Chi has got a few more in him. You know, so and so is going to show up in Secret Wars. So you don't have that this character can be lost real danger feeling. And
Yep.
that is something that I was waiting for to happen. Was like, Joel's dead at the end, right? How is it going to happen? And I think that may also contribute to my, final feeling like, God, well, then how does he die? Does she take him out right now? Is it just like a random bear attack? Or, what's going to go on? And I think that worked really well. Again, not familiar with the game and not convinced of who all is going to leave. Anybody could die in this. In fact, pretty much everybody died. I'm surprised Tommy's still alive, to be perfectly honest. Um, you can't kill Graham Greene, so he's going to outlive everybody. Uh, but I think that was one of those great, just kind of great parts to experience this. Is I felt that we could lose these characters at any point. So the fact that they were able to make it to the end, it's like, we're gonna live, we're gonna live. It was awesome. Um, and I would have done exactly what Joel did. I would have lied to her. You dying is not going to help save the rest of this world. Not like this. Take a blood sample, okay? Play with that. The chemicals got to be in the blood. You don't need to like take out their brain. Anyway.
No, and I mean that's it. I mean, it ends exactly the way that the show ends. She says, "Okay." and it cuts to black, and you go, whoa, like that's it. Like then you get the DLC and you find out later, how she got bit. Um, Going into this again, as it ends, we're gonna have to wait a little while to get to the next story. I almost hope that we do wait a little bit, just a little bit. Like I don't need this to come out next year at the same time. I don't care if it, as long as they tell the next story in the way that it needs to be told as well. And it's going to be difficult. And I think that was the part I was trying to remember was something about the difficulty that people had. Yeah, people that had the difficulty between about Joel's choice. Um, in the behind the scenes, they were like, "Oh, well, some people said, that he did no, he shouldn't have done that." And some people are like, "Yeah, he should." And I don't know I don't know anybody that. I mean, we all know what the right answer is, right? It should be. Well, I mean, see, that's the thing. Do we? Do we
Well,
know what the right answer is?
well,
Because
from a writing cinematic standpoint, we do, and we know the
yes,
fault that Marlene made is Marlene made the choice for Ellie. She didn't let Ellie make her own choice. Ellie might have sacrificed herself for the greater good, but she was never given that opportunity and that choice. So Joel was rescuing her from being forced to do that. However, he also made the same mistake by taking away Ellie's choice.
Rena here in the chat saying, "Did the show provide a need for the next story?" I'm not sure it did. Um, I have to say that it does because it's all about, like, well, not all about, but the consequences of what you do, the choices that you make. And when we see what happens in the second game, where we gain different, we see different perspectives on how things go. In fact, the second game is a lot like um, how a lot of people could look at the first season of the show without playing the game, which is you could have this kind of whole other reaction uh, to what you think it's going to be when you start this show, and you go, "Oh, I didn't know that it was going to be like that. This is a downer. Oh, I don't want to watch this." Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this show, throughout the entire game, throughout the entire season of the show, whether you're playing it or watching it, everything, things that people do have cost. And we have to see, because he lied to her at the end of this game, uh, that is uh, the need for the next story. I mean, you don't have to. Sure, this could be a perfect one and done show.
Sure.
And it would leave people always forever asking the question, what happened to Joel and Ellie? Maybe they never needed to make a second game. Maybe they didn't. You're right. She's right. There could be something to be said for just dropping the mic and standing by your standards of saying, no, I told the story I wanted to tell. But I think because Neil Druckmann had more to say, I think that that's another reason why it's justified. Is that if he had more story to tell, if he said it was done, then it's done. We haven't gotten a new Uncharted game uh, from him because if they decide to go forward and make another one, I don't think that that's going to be made by Naughty Dog, because I think Neil told that story and it's done. And I think that when Neil's done with the story, we'll know, and he won't let it go on further than it needs to. Um, because they care about this. They aren't interested in watching it degrade in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to provide us with the best that they can. And that's what Naughty Dog has always done, pretty much, for the most part. And I don't see it stopping here. And with this partnership with HBO, I just see uh, like there's supposed to be a third game. I believe that Neil has something more to say, and that means there'll probably be a third season. Probably not for a while, because I don't want them to do a Game of Thrones and start making a show without any source material to go along with it. But other than that, what do you think about this, Darren?
I think it's going to be 2 years probably till we get the next season,
No,
most
I mean, do
likely.
you think that the show provided a need for the
Um,
next one?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. Yes, because there's always more of a story to tell. I think what they did here is they told a encapsulated story. They took a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Here were strangers that needed each other for convenience, but kind of couldn't stand each other. Then they grew together, and at the end, they were a family and were able to move off to a safe place to try and survive the apocalypse. End of story. Obviously they set up things with the lie and everything else that there are reasons to build on later on, but what they didn't do and we normally expect to do is there's no cliffhanger. There's no like turn around, it's like finally we're at Tommy's, fire in the distance, oh no, and cut to black or anything. And I think we are kind of programmed to expect that, to not
Yep.
have things wrap up in an end and then the next story is separated years later. We feel that there has to be some connection and setup, and this is where you're going to go with next season. So in a way, no, they didn't give us a reason to come back. They just finished the story, which we're not used to.
Yep.
But now,
Because yeah, you're right.
like any
You're right.
sequel, we're like, yeah, man, but John McClane's back. There's going to be a Die Hard 2, right? Because we're excited about seeing more about these characters. Is there another story to be told? And obviously, from a gaming standpoint, we understand there's definitely a second game, so they're going to build things onto that. Um, but no, I think they succeeded in telling a succinct story, whereas it doesn't need a second season, but it can build. But a second season can only build on top of a great foundation. So when they come back, we're going to be already committed to these characters and see what has changed and where is their next story going. So
Yeah, and it's not going to overstay its welcome like The Walking Dead did, where when you get to like we're throwing spoilers around, but when we get to Negan showing up and what happens, people that decided that that was too much after 6 years, I can understand. But this is not going to do that. So when things go bad, really bad later, like when people are watching the show and they get upset, well, you're not going to have to watch 10 years of it and then get mad. Get mad after 2 years and then say you're done with it, and you'd say, well, I only watched the first season. I hated the second season. But,
sure.
but yeah, I like that there's no cliffhanger because any other show would have had them here and then just clickers charging towards Colorado, and then the next season they start with "You brought them with you, didn't you? They followed you here." No, we're not interested in that because that's what shows that don't know what shouldn't say. I'm not going to say don't know what they're doing, but shows that don't have an end in sight. It's just about keeping going and keeping the dollars running and seeing how long you can stay on the air.
Sure. And this
So
is the hey, and at the end of the season, we told the story and gave you your happy ending.
yep.
And then the next one's going to be like, yeah, but was it a happy ending?
And
Now
anybody
let's
else
see
that
what
wants to talk
happens.
about downers on HBO, there's a little show called Euphoria that's basically like misery 24/7. So you're watching Euphoria and you got a problem with The Last of Us. I'm sorry, but no, no, you don't have that. That doesn't track very well. But I think that we've more than covered this. I was
Yeah.
hoping to keep it under an hour, but we had a lot to say. There was a lot to say. We were trying to cover a bunch of stuff. We had things to say. I'm so glad that you got to join me for this last one.
Yeah, I'm
Uh, I'm
excited too. I'm
I'm
excited we
definitely
get
going to
to.
be back eventually for the second season. Right now, I'm just on your channel working with you when you have something going on, or I'm at Twitch doing Smirking Rob Plays, still playing Hogwarts Legacy. Um, Other than for what I'm doing, what are you doing over there?
Well, a couple of things. Obviously, we're doing Fandalorians Friday night, 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern, eight Central. Um, with Don and Don Willie and Rob here, though hopefully Don will be able to make it this week. Things keep coming up, but we're excited to have him back and to have the whole group together. Little bit of a rocky start, I think, but second episode was awesome. I'm really looking forward to where they're going with now. So yeah, that's one fun thing. The other thing is, of course, I've got an audiobook out. I mean, I didn't write the book, but I told a story. It's called Teeth of the Rakshasa. It's by BJ West. It is available on Audible right now. It's my first foray, but I'm already working on the second book right now, so I'm really excited when that's going to come. And it's a new arena for me, something I'm really excited about. And if folks, if you want to check that out, please let me know what you think. I appreciate the feedback, and I hope you enjoy it.
And I got it, and I'm waiting to like listen to it when I'm at work. When I'm like doing like it's just good. It's good stuff to like. I usually do podcasts,
Oh
but
yeah,
I listened to the sample before I bought it, and I like it. Okay, I'm ready. I can't wait. It's just like hearing somebody that already enjoy talking to tell me a story, and it's great. I love it. I can't wait to get started on it. So everybody, yeah, check that out. Terror at Rakshasa,
yeah.
right? Is that what it is?
Teeth of the
Oh,
Rakshasa. It
teeth.
is.
I
Yeah.
always say terror. I want to say terror for some reason. But Rakshasa, that's a great name. So I love it. Everybody check that out. Okay, so I want to thank everybody that has ever checked out my channel ever. And I want to thank everybody that watched these. And yes, there is stuff coming to the channel. It's just going to be a while because I'm in a lot of transitions. I'm in a great place, but I got to do some things before I can start making regular content again. But what I've got planned is stuff that I'm really excited to be doing. There are plans. Darren knows some of them, and I have not given up on that plan. That big plan is still going to be happening. And that's the big project, but I don't want to say more because I don't want to let myself down or anybody else down when I come back. But there will be content coming as soon as I can feel like I'm in a more, well, when I'm in my own space. So right now, this is what we got. So thanks everybody for being here for The Last of Us. I'm so happy I got to talk about it. I would never have forgiven myself if I hadn't made videos talking about The Last of Us. Because it's such an important game to me. It's one of the best narratives in video games. It shows what we can do with video games. And yeah, you can make the transfer of an adaptation. You just have to act, you just have to care. You have to be surrounded by people who care about it, that are all in on the project, and not just, as much as this is about dollar signs for everybody that's making it, there is care that is being allowed to be taken, and you feel it in every aspect of this show. And when you watch other shows now, you can see when people care or not. That's one of the great things I think that this show did, is you can literally see the quality in shows go down when you watch a show like this. So thanks, Darren, so much for being here. Thanks everybody in the chat and everybody who watches this later on. This is Rob from Smirky Reviews saying, have a great night, everybody. Darren, have a great night.
Thanks
And
for
we'll see
having me.
y'all when I see you. Bye.
Bye.
They make you press so many buttons.